We think of the Norse gods as all-powerful, Odin, the All-Father, watching over the 9 worlds from his high throne. Thor, the god of thunder, smashing his enemies with an unstoppable hammer. Freya, the mistress of magic, claiming half the souls of the slain. They were masters of the cosmos, forces of divine order and unimaginable power. But they weren't fearless. In the dark shadows of the cosmos, in the murky roots of the world tree, and in the very fabric of prophecy itself, there were beings that made the gods themselves tremble. Creatures so powerful, so chaotic, or so inevitable that even the lords of Asgard lived in a state of constant strategic fear. This is not a list of monsters that scare mortals in their beds. This is the countdown of the 5 beings that terrified the gods. We will explore the constant threat of primal chaos, the serpent destined to kill the god of thunder, the wolf prophesied to eat Odin himself, and the one singular force in the universe that even the All-Father was powerless to stop. This is the official ranking of divine terror. To understand the gods, you must first understand their enemy. The Jotnar, or giants, were not just a race of monsters, they were the anti-gods. They were the first beings, born from the primal chaos of Ymir before the gods ever existed. The Jotnar represent the untamed, destructive forces of nature. The avalanche, the glacier, the volcano. Their very origin is chaos. While the gods are figures of intellect and design, the Jotnar are forces of brute, elemental power. They hail from Jotunheim, a realm of frozen mountains, dark forests, and crushing ice, a place the gods themselves found hostile. The gods' entire existence was a rejection of this chaos. Asgard, with its high walls and golden halls, was a fortress of order built in defiance of the chaos that surrounded it. This is why the gods feared the Jotnar. It wasn't the fear of a single creature, but the strategic, constant terror that their entire world, their entire creation, could be overwhelmed and reclaimed by the primal forces they fought so hard to contain. The fear of the Jotnar was the fear of a home invasion on a cosmic scale. Thor wasn't just a hero, he was a border guard. His hammer, Mjolnir, was less a weapon of glory and more a relentless patrol instrument. His life defined by a constant bloody war against the giants. The god's terror of the Jotnar was the knowledge that a being like Skrimir could, through sheer dumb size, hide Thor's hammer, or that a giantess's gaze could freeze a god's blood. While the Jotnar threatened Asgard from the outside, our number 4 threat was far more insidious. It attacked the cosmos from within. Nidhogg, the malice striker, was a monstrous serpent or dragon coiled in the deepest, darkest roots of the 9 worlds, in the realm of Niflheim. His terror was not in what he did to the gods directly, but in what he did to their home. Nidhogg's entire existence was dedicated to a single horrifying task: gnawing on the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree. Yggdrasil wasn't just a tree, it was the chassis of the universe. It was the axle that held all 9 worlds in alignment. The gods' terror of Nidhogg was the fear of a system collapse. They could fight giants, but how do you fight a cancer eating at the foundation of your reality? But Nidhogg is more than just a parasite. He is a tormentor. He lives in Vergelmir, the bubbling cauldron spring, a source of all cold rivers. And he is not alone. He presides over the shores of Nastrand, the corpse shore, a hall woven from the spines of serpents. There, Nidhogg chews on the corpses of murderers, adulterers, and oath-breakers. His terror for the gods is twofold. Not only is he destroying the tree, he is the warden of an eternity of punishment, a symbol of the rot and malice that exists at the very bottom of their perfect creation. Now we move from strategic threats to active prophesied killers. Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent, was one of the 3 monstrous children of Loki and the giantess Angerboda. The gods' fear of these children began with prophecy. The Norns warned Odin that these 3 beings would one day be instrumental in the gods' destruction. Odin's fear was so great that he acted preemptively. He took the young Jormungandr and, in an act of panicked banishment, cast him into the great ocean that encircles the world of mortals. But the serpent did not die. He grew. He grew so impossibly vast that he encircled the entire world, holding his own tail in his mouth. His very existence defines the boundaries of the mortal world. He is the wall. But this wall is alive, and it is full of venom. His presence is a constant, suffocating reminder of the god's failure to control prophecy. Every tide, every massive storm at sea was a twitch of the great serpent, a sign that the beast was stirring in its sleep. For Thor, this was a personal vendetta, a monster he had to kill, but knew he could not survive. The terror of Jormungandr is the terror of a cold war, a stalemate with a monster that, by its very nature, guarantees mutual assured destruction. The gods knew that at Ragnarok he would release his tail, rise from the sea and poison the sky. And they knew, with chilling certainty, that he and Thor were destined to kill each other. If Jormungandr was the god's terror of the sea, his brother Fenrir was their terror on land. He was the second child of Loki, and the prophecy about him was even more specific and horrifying. He was destined to kill Odin, the All-Father, himself. The god's fear of Fenrir defined his entire life. Unlike his brother, he was not banished. In a desperate attempt to control the prophecy, the gods made a fatal error. They brought the wolf cub to Asgard to raise him under their watch. The sagas say that only Tyr, the god of war, had the courage to feed the rapidly growing wolf. The other gods would see him, and their courage would fail. They watched him play and saw the strength that would one day shatter the gates of Asgard. Their terror wasn't just of the prophecy, it was a daily fear of the beast they had unwisely caged in their own home. Their fear became so great that they resorted to betrayal. They lied to Fenrir, pretending it was a game to test his strength. He broke the first two with ease. For the third, the magical ribbon Gleipnir, Fenrir sensed a trick. He agreed only if a god would place their hand in his mouth as a sign of good faith. The god Tyr did so. When the ribbon tightened and the gods refused to release him, Fenrir bit Tyr's hand clean off. Their betrayal wasn't just a strategic decision, it was a desperate, panicked act. They didn't just bind a wolf, they created their own executioner, one now filled with a righteous, white-hot vengeance. We have arrived at number 1, the most terrifying creatures in all of Norse mythology. And they aren't monsters. They are 3 sisters who sit at the base of the world tree, weaving. Their names are Urda, what once was, Verdandi, what is coming to be, and Skål, what shall be. They are the Norns. They are fate. Their terror is absolute because it is existential. The gods, for all their power, were powerless against them. Odin could see the future, but he could not change it. The Norns are the physical embodiment of this terrible truth. They, not the gods, are the authors of the prophecies. The gods would visit them. Odin, in his quest for knowledge, would go to the well of Urd to beg for insight. But the Norns offered no comfort. They offered only truth. Fenrir and Jormungandr are terrifying, but they are just the weapons. The Norns are the ones who decreed that those weapons would strike. The terror of the Norns is the moment a god looks at the tapestry of their life and realizes with dawning horror that all the threads, including the one that marks their final bloody end, are already in place. The gods' greatest fear, Ragnarok, was not a possibility. It was a certainty. They are the terror of powerlessness. So, what did the gods of Asgard truly fear? Not just monsters, but a hierarchy of terror. They feared the constant war against the chaos of the Jotnar. They feared the slow decay of their reality from Nidhogg. They feared the prophesied killers they themselves had banished or bound, Jormungandr and Fenrir. But above all, they feared the one thing they could not fight, the one force they could not trick, and the one power they could not defeat. Certainty. The Norns. The true horror of Norse mythology isn't the monsters, it's the courage of the gods who chose to fight every day, knowing they were already doomed. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the fears of the gods, subscribe to Nordic Lawkeeper for more hidden truths of the Norse world. Which of these 5 do you find the most terrifying? The wolf who eats a god, or the sisters who wrote his destiny? Let us know in the comments. Skål.